Come and dream with me.
Hello and welcome to What Do You Want to Watch, the Explosion Network's premier media podcast. Every fortnight, we get together to talk about movies, TV, and online content, and help you find out if you have early symptoms of Avengers fatigue. Joining me this week, or this episode, Dylan Blight.
Avengers was great, everyone. It was really great. I loved it. 10 out of 10 movie.
Also joining me, Nicholas Pryor.
That's me.
Full disclosure, we're recording this the day before Avengers come out. So there will be no talk of Avengers, there will be no spoilers. But if you do want to get your spoiler fix, this Saturday, the 29th of April, we'll be doing a spoiler review discussion on twitch.tv/Explosion Network. Who will be on the show? I've got no idea. Some combination of us here at the Explosion Network.
Me, because someone needs to fucking run it, I suppose.
Also Dylan. We can lock in Dylan. But that's tomorrow or whenever after you listen to this probably. But so let's talk about what we've been watching this past fortnight. Dylan, you watched Love, Simon. Or Love, Simon.
Love, Simon. Great movie.
You gave it high praise. You said it was better than the John Hughes movies.
I think it's a modern day John Hughes movie that doesn't follow in line with a lot of the problems that the John Hughes movies have and have had pointed out in recent times in a lot of articles and stuff like that. I think it's a really great teen rom-com, which if you're into those, it's really great, heartwarming story. The most interesting thing about it, and the reason it was in the news, of course, is because it's the first big budget teen rom-com movie to have a gay lead at the heart of it instead of a single a male or female,
a heterosexual
straight white
lead
person. Yeah, like the stereotypical lead. It's got some problems, but none of it overshadows how much fun and heartwarming and all that it is. I think it's easily top 3 movies for me this year, just because it's just well made, well put together, great acting, great cast. It all works well together, and I enjoyed the story. I cried at one point and then felt happy by the end of it. So, whatever I gave it out of 10. I was about to say 10 out of 10, but then I'm like, I gave it the proper score. I think it was 8.5.
I can find out at explosionnetwork.com, where Dylan's review is sitting somewhere there, along with his review of A Quiet Place that you watched,
which I didn't like quite as much as Love, Simon. I think Quiet Place has a lot more problems than I think a lot of people are letting a lot of the problems brush under the carpet or under the bed for that movie. And even though I think I gave it an 8 because it is proper tense, it is proper scary, it's got really great performances, the general setup and the idea of that movie where the sound goes in and out and it's really quiet, and it's a really different cinematic experience that I haven't had before. But there are so many plot problems that I had with it, and so many little things that you can point out to have problems with character decisions, that you can look past some of them when you're watching it, because it's an hour and a half and it gets very fast paced, especially towards the end. It's just like go, 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 go. But the second I walked out and I got thinking about a lot of the things, I was like, oh, yeah, but why didn't they do that? Why'd they do that? Why'd that character do that? There was just too many of them stacking up for me to not have problems with that movie. So I think the writing could have been better, and it would have made the movie a lot better.
One thing I want to ask you is the very last shot made me roll my eyes so hard they almost fell out of my head.
I agree. It was fucking terrible. It was like it's like they had a different ending, or it ended like a couple seconds before that, and then they did a test screening, and some fucking macho Hollywood executive watched it and was like, no, what you need to do is change it to this, because that's really cool, man. Like, we got to change it, because it is trash. It doesn't ruin the movie, but it's just, really?
The very last thing you have to see
is that, it wasn't great. And if John Krasinski made that decision, shame on you.
I know it's not his name, but I can't not think of his name as John Krasinski.
You just got to add a couple of extra. You got to add the extra ski.
Yeah.
John Krasinski.
It'll definitely, by the end of the year, it'll definitely be one of the best horror movies. It'll stand out no matter what because of what it's the interesting premise and the fact that it's a very different cinema experience. Will there be horror movies that come out before the end of the year with better writing than it? I'd say that's highly possible. Because I just had so many problems with a lot of the character decisions.
Yeah, so it's not the Get Out of this year? Like, potentially
No.
award...
Not even close.
What about
Not
Emily
even
Blunt?
close.
Did she... You said it was a stellar performance or something along those lines.
Yeah, it's a stellar performance from her. She won't get nominated for anything for it though because of the
The
genre, and it won't happen. But she is really, really great in it. She scene steals a lot of the time, and there's a scene of her basically performing by herself, and it's not like a really gruesome per se thing that's happening, but it's scary, and what's happening could go horrible, and it's really grinding on you that if this all goes bad, it's going to be really fucked up. And she's trying to scream out in pain, but she can't scream out in pain, like without making noise, kind of thing, because it'll of course bring the monsters to her. So the look of agony on her face as she's trying to keep the pain within her is one of the shots that stands out from the movie. She's really, really great.
Awesome. Well, this week saw the return of Westworld after a year-long hiatus.
Longer than
a year. You guys just recorded before we've recorded today the first episode of Bevanworld, which you can find at twitch.tv/Explosion Network or youtube.com/Explosion Network if you want.
You can say that these days. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't even like Westworld.
Do you want to give your brief thoughts on the premiere?
It's for a particular fan of the show. It's not what you'll expect to happen, nor is it you'll get like a lot of answers out of it either. It's for the fan of the show that likes to pick it apart and theory everything and pick apart like every detail and analyze everything, and it's for the Reddit users.
Yeah,
really.
Westworld is one of the best shows to watch and check Reddit weekly in, and so week by week, I'm looking forward to watching it, looking at Reddit theories, thinking about my own theories, and then talking about them with Nick or Tom if you'd like to come on it as well. Because no one else in the Explosion Network watches Westworld. You should all be ashamed.
There's only two more of us that haven't been watching it.
It's you should both be ashamed. You and Kieran should be ashamed. The first season is amazing. It was watching that show week by week and theorizing week by week, and then having certain theories pay off or not pay off was a true TV experience. And it's the kind of show that deserves to have this week by week break and not be binge watched on Netflix. Because I don't think the show's as good as if you do binge watch it.
Yeah,
it is a lot better. Yeah, it's a lot better when you actually have this week between to discuss with people, to think about what's happening, what you've watched, maybe watch it an extra time. It's that type of show. And
it's to give a sense of what you're trying to get into. Like in the first season, a scene with a fly is like so telling and so has such meaning. And the writing is so like tight and concise that it all fits together. There's no really holes.
Yep. So yeah, the premiere was good. It was Westworld. It was, hey, here's a million questions for you and not a lot of answers from the season finale of the first season. Let's go. Let's mind fuck you for another 10 episodes this year. Straight into it. So I'm looking forward to it. Bevanworld.
So a good premiere
on Twitch or YouTube.
A good season
premiere?
opener? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. It was a strong opening.
Good.
It gave me some really good answers to some stuff I'd been wondering about. Not like mind-blowing stuff that we discussed. And then it set up mind-blowing stuff. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
So again, for more in-depth review, go to twitch.tv/Explosion Network. Or YouTube, whatever. This week I watched Isle of Dogs, the new Wes Anderson stop-motion animation film. It's pretty good. it is Wes Anderson at his most Wes Anderson-ness. It's visually awesome to watch. Unfortunately, it's held back by a creative decision. So the film is set in Japan, with there's a lot of dog characters. Obviously, all the dogs speak in English. All the Japanese characters speak in Japanese, and then they're translated by a third party or whatever, either a narrator or a news broadcaster translating it.
Oh, so there's no subtitles.
No, there's no subtitles.
Oh, okay.
So you're constantly feeling like you're disconnected sort of to the characters, or you're missing out on something, which was like it's hard to get past.
It doesn't even make sense, like, because I can understand it being like the dogs can't understand them, but then if you got a news broadcaster being translated in English, it kind of means that the news broadcaster is speaking in dog.
No. This is like, because there's the story of the film is the mayor is sort of concocting a story or like a conspiracy to get rid of all dogs because he's a cat lover.
What an absolute cunt.
Pretty much. Yeah, so like he'll have press conferences and stuff, and he'll speak in Japanese, and then that'll get translated by like a reporter into English.
Right.
So that sort of thing. And also Atari, the boy who's trying to find his dog, he speaks only in Japanese.
His name's Atari.
His name is Atari.
I haven't.
It's set in the future.
I can't remember exactly what the problem was, but I remember reading there was a bunch of, when the movie had its premiere, there was a bunch of kerfuffle, like, not saying it was racist, but there was problematic elements with it, but I can't remember exactly what the articles were trying to point out, and I haven't had the chance to watch it yet.
Yeah.
It's not showing at my local cinema, or else I would go watch it, because
I think it was just like one of those cultural appropriation things, like why Jeff make it Japanese.
Yeah, I think it was along that line, something to do with cultural appropriation of something, so that was interesting, but if it didn't stand out to you, it didn't stand out to you, I guess.
No.
I'm looking forward to watching it.
Yeah.
I like Wes Anderson.
It looks cool. Like they have the dogs have fights and stuff, and it's just a blur of like white smoke instead of like them actually fighting.
How's it the style compared to Fantastic Mr. Fox?
It's pretty similar. I think it's a step up, but I think I prefer Fantastic Mr. Fox more.
Okay.
Yeah. I could watch stop motion animation explosions all day probably.
Yeah.
They look pretty cool.
Well, you're on the Explosion Network, so
I dare you to. There's a 24-hour stream for you.
Yeah.
YouTube video.
I don't know if there's enough stop motion animation.
Loop it.
Explosions.
Yeah.
Loop it.
You might go crazy after a while.
Sammy,
well, you're the one that said you can't watch enough of it.
Yeah, you just said it.
Well,
you've dug yourself a hole, Ashley.
Be careful with your words.
Also, Bryan Cranston is the standout actor in the film, who plays Chief, probably the main dog. Yeah,
the main dog, the main homie,
the protagonist dog.
Okay, the protagonist dog.
Yeah.
Why do you have to point out he's a dog? He's just a protagonist.
To be fair, no dogs are antagonists.
Well, anyway. Dylan, you also checked out Why We're Here, the Rooster Teeth documentary.
Yeah, so I think that's one definitely for only if you're a fan of Rooster Teeth. Okay. I feel like if you're like, it's not the kind of thing that you could randomly watch to get into Rooster Teeth.
Well, to be fair,
you can't really randomly watch it without having to subscribe to Rooster Teeth.
That's a good point. Yeah. So that is...
There is a barrier to entry.
Yeah, there is a $5 barrier to entry to watch that documentary, because it is on Rooster Teeth first, which makes sense why they don't really try and target it outside of people who would have already watched or have some understanding of their content. But for someone who is a Rooster Teeth fan, I found it really, really enjoyable. For someone who would love to one day be somehow as big as Rooster Teeth and run a company like that, really, really inspiring stuff, because they go back and you get to see a lot of photos, and actually Bernie and I can't remember who goes with him now. But Bernie goes back to his house where they started Rooster Teeth, and they just knock on the door, and the lady answers it, and he's like, this might be a bit weird, but I used to live here, and like we're part of a semi-big media company now. Was just wondering if we could come look around the house. And the lady's like, yeah, okay, sure, why not? Come in. And then they go like look around the house, and then they go up into the room, which is now a children's bedroom. It's got like a bunk bed in it and stuff. And he's just standing in the room saying, oh, this is where we had the Xbox that we used when we first made Red versus Blue. And we used to just put someone in the closet here with a microphone and say record your lines, but if someone was doing the laundry down below, you had to like wait for it to stop because it'd just be banging on the bottom of the floorboards the entire time, so we'd have to wait. And they talk about how Gus like fucked off to somewhere else for like Costa Rica or some shit for some reason when they first started the season. So then they put a microphone up to like a loudspeaker of a phone thing and got Gus to record all his lines that way. And that's why Red versus Blue now has this sound over it, like it sounds like it's put through a voice modulator thing. Yeah, they had to change everyone else's audio to match up with Gus's because of that. So it's little tidbits like that I find interesting. They go through and they revisit each upgrade in studio that they had after that. So out of the house, they go to the first studio. They actually had like a small like apartment building, and they rented out to the bigger one, to where they are now, which is this huge complex, huge thing, and how they go through there, and they interview a bunch of people. So as a fan and as someone who finds behind the scenes of that industry, because that's the industry that we're in technically, interesting, then yeah, I suggest it's a good watch.
Awesome. And the other film that you watched, Blockers, which I saw the other week. What'd you think?
I really liked it.
Yeah.
I thought it was really, really good. Everyone's funny in it. The kids are all great. The message isn't stupid or beat you over the head, ridiculous or thing. The jokes that are gross out are great. They're not stupid. The fact that the main cast is all girls and they get to play up some of the stupid shit, because it's mostly a male dominated area of a movie. They get to play out a lot of stuff. Actually, there was one scene where it was a bit too heavy on the nose, where they're trying to get the dress for where the party is, and the mum comes downstairs
and
or whatever,
plays a feminist, pretty much.
She goes like
rant,
hardcore, like like it was too far over the head with this is the message of this movie. I'm like, I understand the message of the movie. I was having fun watching it without you fucking beating me. That was the only time it was a bit too far down that road. But yeah, I thought it was really funny. There's some standout scenes. You was right. Big old Gary penis. That was great. right up in the camera. Appreciate. But the main girl's really great. I can't remember her name. She's out of a few things now. She's becoming a bit of an upcoming young star. The main blonde girl.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure.
I can't remember. And then I don't know if it's a spoiler because it's within the first, you kind of find it out within the first 10 minutes. So if you care about spoilers, I don't know if it was in the trailer or not, but then one of the girls is also gay. So they have this whole mini story going throughout it because they make the pact at the start of the movie of we're all going to lose our virginity, but straight away
to men.
To men, yeah. And straight away she's kind of like, because she's not out yet. She's like, yeah, I'll fucking lose my virginity. That sounds great. Like she's still not open. She's still not sure about herself. So they have this cool subplot throughout the movie about her becoming okay with herself and then coming out to her friends and her family and stuff. I think it's great. John Cena's fucking amazing in it also.
Yeah, just a really sidebar. Funny. The actress is also in Lady Bird, 3 Billboards, and Big Little Lies.
Catherine Newton. Yeah.
Yes. Seen her in so much lately. It's just like she's everywhere. She's good in all of it, so.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, let's move into some film news. And the most bizarre, I guess, film news and biggest film news, they have a director for Birds of Prey. The DC female-led superhero team is going to be starring Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, which kind of doesn't make sense because she's not really on that team. But it's being directed by Kathy Yan. Now, she's done one film called Dead Pigs. It was shown at Sundance this year. And it's a Chinese movie. What do you think of this decision? This is exciting? Is it kind of left field?
First off, look, they gave Gareth Edwards Godzilla after he made one indie movie that he ran around filming by himself and did all the special effects by himself.
That's fair.
Like just as a side note to they've only done one movie. Like they was going to hire Colin Trevorrow. They hired Colin Trevorrow to do Jurassic World, after you've done one or two random indie movies that were dramas, you know? So judging someone's IMDb isn't always the best idea because
That's fair.
You don't really, yeah. I don't know anything about her. I'm not too excited for this movie, though, because it's cool, I guess.
It's DC, and I assume it's bad until I'm proven otherwise.
Yeah, that's kind of the stage I'm at, too. So
Yeah.
I'm a huge Batgirl fan, so...
Yeah, apparently Batgirl is only 2 guaranteed characters at the moment, Batgirl and Harley Quinn.
Yeah, well, Batgirl's the leader.
Of the Birds of Prey, yeah.
Yeah.
In comic continuity.
Which she won't be in this, because somehow Harley will be the leader, I suppose.
Unless they're going against Harley, would be...
Maybe, I hope.
Because apparently they're working on 2 different versions of this script. And those are the only 2 characters that are in both versions.
Oh, they're doing this whole, send off different people to write scripts and then mash them into the best.
Yeah, that's kind of Warner Brothers thing at the moment. They get 3 to 5 people working on scripts and then hope
what else have they done that
puts out a good one.
I can't think of a memory exactly, a movie off the top of my head, but I know there was like a big comic book movie that did do this. It was probably fucking DC as well. That it was like Wonder
Woman had 5 writers.
Yeah.
Rogue One had a bunch of writers.
Yeah, but is that all writers working together or writers working against each other?
They're probably just readapting, whittling it away until it gets to the end product. To get credit on a script, you only need to do like 25% of the script. I think. I can't remember off the top of my head.
It's
a certain percentage. Yeah. In other DC news this week, it was announced that Steven Spielberg is going to be producing and possibly directing a Black Hawk movie. Do you guys know who Black Hawks are?
I have no idea who this is.
No.
So they're an ace team of World War II fighter pilots. How does that make you feel, Nick? Intrigued?
No, it's DC. It's bad until I'm proven otherwise.
If Steven Spielberg does this, everyone will go, "Oh, it finally been the first good comic book movie." But then, by the sounds of it, it's just Spielberg making another war movie.
Yeah, very similar to Indiana Jones and probably Tintin or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, but I think it's got potential. It's interesting. DC are sort of maybe pushing to the outer realms of their continuity or what properties they have, rather than just focusing on the
because all their
stuff.
core ones not working for them.
I think it's smart for them to do that, though. That's instead of doubling down trying to fix their big characters that, for the most part, people actually like the TV counterparts better. You know, like everyone's like, Flash TV show is great. Didn't like the Flash in the movie. So maybe it is better for them to go off, find their Guardians of the Galaxy obscure characters and try and make them into something where people won't have so much to judge going in.
At what point do they go, like, presuming that they shit after shit, do they go, we just give up? Or is as long as Marvel's successful, they'll keep trying?
I don't think they'll give up.
No. As long as they've got those properties, they'll keep going until
and they're still making
sticks.
money. Like, it doesn't
Wonder
matter.
Woman was good
until Disney buys Warner Brothers.
That's true. Wonder Woman was good. Wonder Woman was really, it was great. Even I really liked Wonder Woman. But that's one for X.
However many.
Right. With that said, I'm a Batman v Superman fan. I'm a fan of the Ultimate Cut though. I think the Ultimate Cut I gave like an 8.5. I gave the original cut like a 6. So the version that they put out as the main copy and the one that was shown in cinemas was
theatrical
shit.
version.
The theatrical version was shit. So the 2 DC movies that I actually would say I like are Wonder Woman and the Ultimate Cut of BVS. Man of Steel's okay. It's not great.
I enjoyed Man of Steel.
I don't dislike it. It's okay.
I tell you what I really want to see from DC is a Superman Red Sun movie.
Won't happen.
No, it won't.
Not in live action, anyway.
Not in live.
I think they are working on an animated version. I think that's on their slate.
Yeah, it's probably one of the animated ones that they'll do, but I don't see that happening in live action. So, no. I don't know. Whatever. DC's hurt me too many times that I struggle as a DC Comics fan to even hold the totem pole of faith anymore. So, and when your fans are like me, you're putting down the flag, going, "Oh, fucking give up. It's too much effort." Like, kind of says something, I think.
Show me on the Dylan where DC hurt you.
Yeah, well, everywhere. And with that said, I'm just getting generally sick of comic book movies, I feel like, so...
Well, do we want to talk about James Cameron coming out and said about Avengers fatigue?
Yeah, he's a fucking idiot.
Do you think it's fair, though?
James Cameron
is it just superhero fatigue would be a better term? Because what? We've got like 5, 6 superhero movies coming out this year? At what point is we going to hit saturation point?
So are we talking superhero movies in particular or comic book movies in general?
I'd say superheroes. Comics is a broader genre. There's a bunch of comic book movies that are not superhero based.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Superhero movies are like their own genre at this point, kind of like westerns or something along those lines.
Look, as long as I'll keep watching them, as long as I enjoy watching them, like, if that makes any sense. When they start going bad, like, then I'll be done.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how many in a row needs to be bad for me to get really sick of it, but I kind of get sick of them, and then I watch something like Black Panther. Yeah. I'm like, okay, great, cool. This was fresh, interesting, really, really loved it. But then usually after something like that happens, the next couple is shit or mediocre or just samey, and it's like, oh, yeah. And I kind of get worn down, and then I need another pick-me-up. So,
but the thing also these days is, for us growing up, Star Wars was all that connected universe and that, but for kids growing up now, Marvel is their Star Wars.
It's more than their Star Wars.
Exactly.
Think about the amount of these movies.
Yeah.
And the TV shows and like everything, like superhero shit's just everywhere.
Yeah. Kids will be like, grow up being ravenous for it as we are towards Star Wars.
Yeah. I mean,
and as long as there's people going to watch it.
I don't think it dies out ever.
No. Slows down maybe, gets a reboot, like takes, I don't know, maybe 5-6 years off and start again, or
3 years. Tops.
Well, Kevin Feige, however you say his name.
Yep.
He was talking about in an interview recently about Avengers 4, saying that is the end of the Marvel franchise as you know it. That's like the end of the story they've been telling for the last 10 years, and then it's time to shake things up and come back with new, fresh, exciting. So
it's the Supernatural 1 to 5, and then from there on out we get the Supernatural 5 to 19.
Fucking hope. But I mean, when I hear him say things like that, I don't believe him, but I can have hope that it does mean what he means.
Yeah, the way I see it is that it's still going to be an MCU. It's still all going to be connected, but they're shifting focus.
Yeah. But and it's easier when you're not dealing with having to connect every movie into having an after credit scene about Thanos or an Infinity Stone or something like that. So
I'll tell you what, though, I'm excited for the Nova movie they've been talking about recently.
There was a good theory about that. They blow up the whole Nova Corps, and that's how you get at the start of the Avengers movie, and that's how you shoot into doing a Nova movie, which would make sense, I suppose.
Because Nova's a great character. Both the kid version and Richard Rider.
Interesting. All right. Let's move away from superheroes and talk about Ash and the Evil Dead. This week it got announced that...
I didn't want to cry tonight.
Ash and the Evil Dead on Stars has been cancelled. I'm sorry, Nick. And then...
what if we do our own version, Ash and the Logan Dead?
I don't get
Be
it.
you, Ashley. Ashley Hobley is the action star.
Okay.
Who's the Logan Dead?
All the drug addicts in Logan.
Oh, I'm not that close to Logan. So a lot of people have been petitioning to get Netflix to pick it up. But then today, Bruce Campbell came out and said he's officially retired as Ash.
I think that's the most heartbreaking thing about it.
Hashtag time to fry some other fish. How are you feeling, Nick?
I want to make a point. He's retired from playing Ash, not retired from acting altogether.
No.
He played other roles?
Yeah. Bubba Hotep, heaps of other movies.
Yeah, no,
He had a recurring role in Burn Notice.
It was yeah, no, Burn Notice was.
Yeah.
I actually think I saw him before I knew who he was, because Burn Notice was on when I was in high school. Before I even watched Evil Dead, I think, and that's who he was. It was like Burn Notice guy.
Sam Axe, yeah.
Yeah, before I even knew him from Evil Dead. So
Yeah.
That was a good show. I like that show for what it was.
Okay. Yeah. What's your favorite Evil Dead property?
I think Evil Dead 2 is my favourite.
Yeah.
Although the reboot Evil Dead movie was also really good.
I own it. I haven't watched it yet. I should really watch it because
really
I heard
good.
it was decent. Like, it just ups the gore and the violence to a
That would be
thousand,
what we
but-
watch next.
Oh, Ash is like shaking in his boots.
I've seen Evil Dead 2, so
Have you? Have you watched the first one?
I don't think so.
Because all I refer to it as is like, whenever I try to tell people about it, it's like, have you watched the Evil Dead? Oh, I might have, but I might just remember the title. Did you watch a movie where a tree raped someone?
No, I don't think I
that
saw
doesn't
that.
sound like
no.
a thing. Okay, you didn't watch the Evil Dead then. Because
The Evil Dead's weird because the Evil Dead 1 and 2 are pretty much the same movie.
Yep.
Yep.
Just with a bigger budget, come back. Do it again.
Yeah.
Bit better. Yep. Evil Dead 2 is also my pick for the franchise.
Yeah.
And the Army of Darkness is goofy and funny.
It's not Evil Dead, though,
No.
as far as I'm concerned.
All right. So it was announced this week that David Leitch, the director of Deadpool 2 and Atomic Blonde and John Wick, is going to be making the Division movie based on the Ubisoft game / Tom Clancy novels.
it's not
I've
based
never
on
played
any
the Division, so do you guys have any? It's set to star Jake Gyllenhaal and Jessica Chastain. Probably coming out 2019, 2020, if it gets made at all. Any feelings?
As horrible as this sounds, as horrible as it sounds of being a video game movie, I think the premise is interesting enough, and they can tell their own story not based off the game.
Yeah.
Just set with that kind of the virus and Manhattan thing to make it a decent movie.
Yeah. Dylan? Yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal's been attached to this for ages. I remember hearing about this like 6 months after the game came out. It was like, we're going to make it a movie, and Jake Gyllenhaal is going to be attached to it. So I'm surprised his name's still...
Oh, this is the first I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Really?
They were talking about it straight out of the bat for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it was like, we'll get the game out, then we'll do the movie, then we'll do the dying thing, then we'll, because I think I was trying to make it this huge property straight out the gate. The Division is this huge thing.
Its biggest downfall will be is if Ubisoft goes, it has to tie into the game somehow.
I don't think
Which is
so.
what they did with Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
Assassin's
If
Creed
they
doesn't
just
stand apart.
use the basic premise and make their own thing, I'm all in. But
Has anyone here watched Assassin's Creed?
No.
no.
Okay, it's not bad. It's not good. It has some interesting parts in it. It does seem too much like someone from Ubisoft had too much of a hand in either the editing of that movie or the general script writing process, to a point it just becomes silly and scenes are skipped over too easy, and then the ending's just, whoa, go play our video games kind of, because this is where it's on. So I don't know, the Division itself as a base premise, as Nick said, has an interesting enough setup that you can just make a cool movie off that premise and just be like, don't focus on it as a video game movie, just take that premise and just try and make that premise into a good movie.
It's interesting that it's got the Tom Clancy name attached to it, because Tom Clancy has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, his name's not attached in any of these stories
it's just
about
it's
it.
just a licensing name,
Yeah.
But Tom Clancy has been attached to good movies made from his books, so
Yeah. I know, if it turns out good, they might add his name to it just to get that
they'll definitely add his name
extra
to
bit of prestige. It's interesting because David Leitch is it looks like it's going to be 2020 because he's working on the Fast and Furious spin-off Hobbs and Shaw for 2019 on the tail end of Deadpool 2. Talking about Fast and Furious, this week they announced that Netflix is making a Fast and Furious animated series.
I missed this news. Come the fuck again. Tell me.
Today, Netflix and DreamWorks Animation announced that new Fast and Furious animated series is in the works. The new series
Is it just a redub of Initial D?
The series already has a Netflix show page, but it's currently called the Fast and Furious Animated Show. It's going to be following teenager Tony Toretto, Dominic Toretto's cousin, as he and his friends are recruited by a government agency to infiltrate an elite racing league, serving as a front for a nefarious crime organization bent on world domination.
No.
Nope. Okay.
No, you can't even sell me because, oh, Dylan, you love the franchise. That just sounds ridiculous, like all the movies. The movies have built up to a stage where they are allowed to have their ridiculousness, and I'm watching them because of the dynamics between the characters and the actors, and the ridiculousness all works within the confines of it, and they got to that stage after several movies. The first one wasn't even completely bonkers. It wasn't realistic.
It was an undercover cop.
Yeah.
It was an undercover cop type scenario. It was street level shit happening. This is just his cousin gets fuck off.
Vin Diesel is involved. He's executive producing
He
along with the Chris Morgan, who wrote the majority of the movies.
He wrote all of them.
Yeah.
Bar the first one, I think.
Yeah.
Well, that's a majority.
And they've also got someone from the Voltron series to work as showrunner, along with someone from a Madagascar.
Is it going to be anime style?
No, it's like 3D animation.
This is aimed at kids, right? Because it's
I would
DreamWorks?
imagine. This story suggests it's going to be like James Bond Jr.
Okay.
So probably not
Look, I'll
aimed
watch
at
Kids
us.
even watch Fast and Furious to be attracted to the name.
I mean, I did when I was young, but I don't have kids these days. Well, of course, because like I was 11 or something like that when I watched the original Fast and Furious, probably, and I've been watching that franchise since that point in time. Me and my friends in the school yard would quote lines from Too Fast, Too Furious back and forth to one another, and we would just sing that ludicrous song, act a fool. We'd just sing that in the playground.
And then you would get a rat and put a bucket over it.
Yeah, and then heat it up.
Yeah.
That part actually scared me as a kid.
Yeah,
but
that is pretty scary.
So I watched.
It's pretty scary as an adult.
I'm sure if it was happening, it would be. So I don't know. Like I watched them as a kid, and that's why maybe part of the reason I have such a love for that franchise, because it is something I've been watching since such a young age. But our kids going in now, it's got The Rock in it, so I would say I wouldn't put it past it to be a franchise kids are into, simply because he's in it. I guess that's my one connecting factor.
I know.
But I'll check out the first episode, but it sounds fucking terrible.
Dom could make a cameo. It could happen.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will.
Continuing on the animated train, they released the title for the next How to Train Your Dragon movie. How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World, which is going to be the final part of the trilogy. You guys pumped, excited, interested?
I've not seen either of them.
Super pumped. They're like some of the best. They're two of the best animated movies of the last 10 years easy.
They're the best animated movies made by an American studio that isn't Pixar.
Excuse me, you're both forgetting
That was a
about
lot of-
Boss Baby.
What?
Boss Baby.
Fucking Boss Baby. No, I'm super excited for this. That franchise is pure joy, fun combination of a bunch of different elements of things I like. It's got great voice acting. I remember watching the first one and just being so impressed with it. It stood out as being, it didn't seem like an American movie. It did seem like a Japanese animation to some degree, I would say.
Yeah.
Which made it stand out. I've for years been wanting to read the books, but I haven't got to it.
I think they're very different.
They're very, very different, but at the same time, I've still been wanting to read them. So, and I think there's like 12 books. So I don't know what elements they use for the movies, but yeah, I'm excited for this.
Yeah.
Hell's yes. Sam, my friend, also
friend.
loves the franchise. My one friend I'm allowed to talk about. Yeah, when it was out last weekend, he's like, "Oh, just put a pre-order down for like a $400 statue deal." I'm like, "Oh yeah, what's it of?" Opens up his phone. It's this fucking big,
Toothless?
Toothless, yes. It's a big Toothless from Zing. I don't know if Offer Zings will have it or something, but that's where he's got it from. It's like $400 fucking Toothless. It's like, okay.
Seems like money well spent.
Yeah, well, You work for it. Do with it what you will.
Yep.
You know.
How to Train Your Dragon going to be on What Do You Want to Watch at some point in the future. And it's got a release date March 1st, 2019. So not long to go. Just one more year. They also announced that Jessica Chastain is confirmed to be in It 2. She'll be playing the part of the girl.
The main girl. I can't remember her name.
girl.
Yeah, I had the name here a second ago.
buy this.
Bev Marsh.
Bev, there you go. I buy this, yeah.
Yep.
It's good casting.
The other two, they're also looking at bringing in James McAvoy as Bill.
Yep.
You can see that. And
Yep.
Bill Hader as Richie.
Yep.
I have not seen it. Are you happy with these casting choices?
Yep. Sounds great.
I like those
Better
actors.
than the original movie.
Yeah.
Which one was Bill again?
Not the nerdy one.
And Bill Hader's playing Bill.
Bill Hader is playing the other one. I mean, they should have had Bill play Bill, but I guess it didn't fit.
Jessica Chastain's the best casting in that, I believe, though. So
Yeah. Apparently,
I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad that they're getting actors that I'm excited for and ones that I can see, but at the same time, I did have high hopes that they would cast nobodies to follow along instead of, because the first one, of course, has these kids in it, and the kids are all nobodies, and then the sequel is going to have these big name actors on it, and I don't know if that then adds trouble to it, because then, of course, I don't know, it just muddies the waters a bit. I would have preferred to it of just being like a bunch of actors that I didn't know or I barely knew of, but it's fine. Choices are okay.
it's okay.
I'll watch it.
Well, that brings us to the end of film news. Dylan, what do we end up watching this week?
2 movies.
What? 2 movies?
It's craziness, I know. I was like thinking about what to pick, and then I was like, hey, Ash, are we allowed to watch 2 movies? And you said, I don't know, I guess. Do what you want.
That sounds like me.
Yeah, so we watched the Raid 1 and the Raid 2, and we watched them as a package because I feel like that was the best way to discuss them, especially since I basically just wanted to watch the Raid 2. They are both directed by Gareth Evans and star people's names I will fucking massacre. Iko Uwais, I think. And the only like of a carryover between both of them is I'm not going to even bother trying because I'm sorry.
We are
I'm
sorry.
Really, really sorry.
We're probably going to mispronounce a lot of names.
Yep. Apart from Gareth Evans. That one's got
pretty
down.
easy.
Got down. So I picked these movies because The Raid 2 is one of my favorite movies of all time. I consider it one of the best action movies of all time. And I've watched the movie many, many times. And it is the type of movie that I have such a high passion for that I will often get drunk and just tell people about. It's like it's on that type of scenario for me, you know. I'll just get drunk and just start talking about stuff, and then someone brings up like martial arts movies or action movies. Fucking action movies in America are shit. You gotta watch The Raid. That's where it's at. That's where it's at. Most people would know if you've watched Dredd, you've watched the original Raid, basically, to some degree. Although, to make sure everyone understands, Dredd stole that. Well, it didn't steal. It was heavily influenced by The Raid.
Yep.
There's no denying that. It's just so obvious. The first Raid is about a SWAT team, or whatever their version of a SWAT team is. They go into this building to take down a drug lord, and then they get trapped in the building and have to climb their way up to the top to take down the dude. So do we want to start with that one, I guess?
Let's start with The Raid. Nick,
Okay.
do you have a mini review for The Raid?
I do. The Raid. This is a fantastic action movie with almost perfect choreography and camera work that creates a sense of claustrophobic tension. The plot is simple, and that is what the film needs. Essentially, a believable reason to be in the situation. 9.5 out of 10.
Ooh, that's high praise. Yeah. I remember seeing The Raid the first time years ago because it was like the buzz around that film was insane.
Yep, that's why I watched it, because there was so much buzz years ago.
I didn't know about it until after I saw Dread.
Oh, okay. That's interesting order to watch them in. Yeah, it is a brutal film. The martial arts style is really interesting to watch. I enjoyed the story of the first one. The like very simple, basic brother story, I guess, that sort of works its way in. Yeah, I don't know what else you can say. I do have a couple of notes that I wrote down. One, some of the shaky cam at the start was kind of frustrating, I found, personally. But of course, this was like a super low budget. It's an Indonesian movie, in case you didn't know. That death on the broken door is one of the most brutal deaths I've seen ever. It's like one of the most things I remember from that film.
You haven't watched... You don't watch the types of movies that
that's true.
me and Nick watched, though.
No, but when I think of The Raid, I think of that guy falling on that broken door.
No, I do agree. It's a very brutal movie, but I don't feel like its violence is over the top to the point of ridiculousness.
No. And the only other note I wrote down, which is also true for the second film, jumping off a table is rarely effective.
How do you know that?
Because every time someone jumps off a table, they get smacked down.
This is true.
So
it never works out.
I remember watching this. The first time I watched this, I was just so impressed by something that I don't think should be a problem, and is still a problem with American action movies or Hollywood action movies to this day, with some standouts outside that, which are like John Wick in the last couple of years, a couple other things. But other than that, Hollywood action movies have grown to a point where they are over-edited. They don't show you the fight well. They don't have good choreography. It is just a bunch of... They cut together so many quick shots or so many scenes together so fast that they try and trick your brain into going, you just watched something cool happen.
Yeah.
But you didn't watch something cool happen. Watching The Raid was... You're watching the fight happening. You're watching these really cool choreographed action scenes, and it's really exhilarating, and it's played out like a ballet where they've... You know, there's these cool moments, hand, and then they put a cherry on the pop with that, like putting the dude's head onto the glass. Like that's a stinger for the audience. Like, oh, that's exciting. And then they break up the fights that like that. Or the part where he like hits the dude's head like 3 times against the wall and they have that really cool shot. That's one of my favorite moments in the movie. It's just like bang, bang, bang. He's doing this whole fight scene, and then that dude's head's just bash, 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 and then down it goes, hits the ground. That's great. That's really, really something. And the plot is simple. I don't think it's simple dumb. I think it makes sense. It's like there's a drug lord, and they talk about a bigger world outside it, but they never explore it. Yeah. And if they never did a sequel, you didn't really need to know about the bigger world outside it.
You just get the general idea,
Yeah. So, and I think the acting is good. The problem with action movies and the acting is everyone always underrates the performance if a lot of what you're watching is people fighting. But you got to understand that to do what they're doing and to still portray certain facial or character motivation during those fights is just as impressive as you're sitting at a dinner table crying over someone telling you that a family member died to me. You know, they're different types of acting, but there is good action movie acting, and then there's bad, and this is good.
Yeah. I just want to make particular note of the scene where they're hiding behind the wall.
That's pretty cool.
Guy's apartment, and he shoves the machete through the wall. Cuts the guy on the cheek.
Yeah, that was a tense scene.
That was really tense. Or where they're in the main like area, and there's the guys on the balcony above, and it's all dark, and the guy gets a shotgun to blow the lock off the door and lights everyone up, and they light them up. Yeah,
that was interesting lighting choice. I also enjoyed the bomb in the fridge that worked there.
Yep, Indiana Jones did it better, some would say, but you know.
Well, there wasn't a bomb in the fridge in Indiana Jones.
No, they used it the opposite way. They got saved from a bomb in the fridge.
They can also tell, like, the way the fights are heavily influenced, like Daredevil and the corridor fights.
Yeah, obviously that long one. A lot of long shots. Oneers. The industry people would say.
The industry people say oneers.
Yeah. I don't know.
Industry people.
I feel like I've heard people say oneers.
Sure.
Yeah. So, Nick, what do you think of the Raid 2 then?
I didn't love it as much. I had issues with some of the characters felt unnecessary, and some of the fight scenes felt like they were in there just for the cool factor, and it went way too long in my opinion.
I can agree with maybe it feeling a bit long, and there were some characters that were just sort of there, but...
Like, especially the Hammer Girl and the baseball bat guy.
I can't... But they were so cool.
They were
so
cool, but it felt like
they-
the only reason they were there for was to be cool.
But
Yeah.
You could have taken them out of the movie and you wouldn't have lost anything.
I will say I don't think Baseball Bat Guy is slightly lower than Hammer Girl. Hammer Girl was much better. But yeah, I think it was interesting that they built those characters up with that fight scene beforehand to make them a credible threat to him at the end of the movie.
But I think the
what they
guy
did.
with the knives was credible enough.
Did he have another fight? I don't
No.
think...
They
He
just showed
cut up
him.
old mate from the first movie.
Oh, yeah. No, he just came in, killed the guy up when he was already beaten up by like 50
Yeah.
other people. I think I
he had
think
the-
it's pretty
he-
clear we're going slightly spoilery on this. Sorry. But yeah. I think that fight scene was pretty cool. That long fight scene in the kitchen between them two.
Yeah, I think the kitchen fight was the highlight of the movie for me.
The kitchen fight is top 3 fight scenes ever. So, mate, I've watched it so many times just by itself. My dad won't watch this movie because it's like a very long subtitled movie, so his attention span's just lost because he has to read it all. But I even put on that fight scene for him. Like, you're not going to watch it, but fucking watch this scene. Like, just watch the end fight scene. And I've showed a bunch of other friends, like, you're never going to watch this movie because I know you don't watch subtitled movies, but you're watching the end fight scene because it's fucking the bomb. Like, that last fight scene is so good. Like, the choreography and how long it goes for, it is one of the best fight scenes I've ever seen in the movie, yeah.
And one other issue that sticks in the front of my mind is when they're having the meeting after everything that's happened and they just randomly start speaking English.
Yeah, that was a bit odd.
Where?
Between
When
the
they're
two
having the-
families.
Yeah, between the Japanese and the Indonesian gang families, and they're having that in the meeting room after the son had betrayed him, and they just
Sort
start
of
randomly
ordered
speaking English
hits or
to each
whatever.
other.
Yeah.
Yeah,
After Baseball Bat Guy and Hammer Girl had
yeah.
Oh, right,
killed
yeah,
all those
yeah,
people,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never questioned it, and I've watched it several times. So to me, this is it's a 2.5 hour long action martial arts movie that is the internal affairs of martial arts action movies.
That's
because
fair
it tries.
description. Yeah.
Yeah, it tries to give you and I think it succeeds as far as I'm concerned. It tries to give you a very big scope action police undercover story that is one that you actually have to pay attention to, whereas the first movie had a very simple story that you didn't really need to think twice about. This one, and I say Infernal Affairs because that is a movie.
Or The Departed
for
for
Very
you
similar.
savages.
Or The Departed. Yeah, I suppose if you want to go for that. It is one where you actually have to pay attention. There's scenes that take place before and after. They kind of flick back and forth in time. They show you scenes without telling you why you're watching the scene, just to set up characters' motivations or who they are. Like the first time you meet the long-haired like assassin dude,
The guy from the first movie.
Yeah.
the guy from it's the same actor.
That
from
kind
the
of
first
threw
movie.
me. I was like, is that the same guy?
Yeah.
Is it
It's-
not the same character?
No, it's not
No.
the same character. It's the same actor playing a different role from the first movie.
Got
Oh,
a
okay.
massive beard, Nick. Completely different.
Yeah, he goes. They put him in a massive.
Yeah, but it
beard
was
and long
2 years
hair and-
later at the point that we saw him.
No, because spoilers for the first movie. They kill him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they
Snap his neck. There's no coming back from that.
Yeah, he dies. So that whole scene with him fighting is just they don't give you context to why you're watching it. It's just supposed to set up for who he works for, why he's there, but they don't go over the top. I think the story is interesting, and I'd say Infernal Affairs is the best comparison, or The Departed, for this.
Yeah.
And I think all the action scenes, I feel like they're all necessary within the story. I don't feel like there's any of the action scenes that feel unnecessary to me, and they're all great. All of them are standouts to me. The fight scene in the mud.
Yeah,
I remember watching that for the first time.
That was a good fight scene.
First time watching that, going, I've never seen anything like this. This is really.
It was also brutally violent as well.
Yes, very much so.
but slow.
More violent than the first one, I think.
Yeah, this movie is more violent than the first film. I feel like, definitely. And then they even get and this movie wasn't even made on a huge budget, and they fit in what I feel like is a really intense car chase scene also within the movie. And not a short one, like a fairly lengthy car chase scene where they have the camera literally hanging outside of one car at one point, and they pass it through the window to another car to get this really cool shot when they like push someone out of the car. I mean, this is a movie made by people who love action movies and want to make the shots really interesting and realistic and gritty and make you feel there. And they spent so long just working on the choreography for this movie, and it pays off.
Well, you'd have to.
Every scene is intense. The martial arts style that they use is called Silat? It's something along those lines.
Pink Silat.
Silat? Silat? Which is where Aiko and the other dude, who are like the head choreographers of this movie, met Gareth, because Gareth was coming there to make a movie about that martial arts style, met them, and then he's been working with them a lot since and made the Raid movies. And it's just interesting that they can make this movie, because he'll write the script and say, well, this happens, and then, here's the outcome. And then they can have these two people come in who didn't come from an acting background, but from a martial arts background. And then you can have them come in and just work together to come up with really cool, interesting fight scenes. But this is the pinnacle and how I would want to watch action movies. I want to see that there's been detail put into it. I want to see there's been effort put into it. I want it to be somewhat brutal. I don't want it to be easy. I don't want it to be slapstick. I don't want close-ups on people's faces when they're doing certain things, because you're not actually choreographing a fight scene. You're just trying to make me feel like you are. It's Hollywood's in a sad state of affair for action movies, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I agree.
And every time I watch this movie, I just get super excited.
I think the problem with action movies is that they also try to make it PG rated to draw in the kids, with like The Rock as the star and all that. So they're trying to cater for too many audiences at once to make it a decent action movie.
Yeah.
Because look at John Wick, like, it knew what it wanted to be, and it focused on that violence and all that, and it's hard hitting, and it turned out to be a great action film.
Yeah. I've seen people complain, because there is heaps of reviewers. I've seen heaps of reviews and reviewers and people online who feel a lot the same about the Raid 2 as I do. Love it to pieces. Yeah. There are also other people who complain and say it got too convoluted, went places. It should have just been more like the first one. Whereas I will applaud making sure that the sequel to your movie is nothing like the first one.
Yeah.
So many action movies are just, all right, so we'll basically do a bunch of the same. Yeah. We'll redo a lot of the same action scenes, a lot of the same story elements. And if the first one was successful, then this one will just be just as successful to a point, surely. Yeah. And they come out with this movie, and the only carrying over factor is that the action is just as well choreographed and put together and brutal. Yeah. Other than that, they go so many places that are interesting. They take the story from this very small scope to this huge spectrum between all these different rivaling gang factions, and like this dude coming in trying to take over from the inside, basically, and he's undercover for like 2 years. He's in prison before he can even get out. And it's a very big story that intertwines with a bunch of different characters, and I think it's brave to do that when your first movie is such a simple story.
Yeah.
No, I applaud that. There's been talk about making number 3 for years.
He
might
said
happen. He'll do it.
Not likely anytime soon.
Not likely anytime soon. He's always said in interviews, whenever I've watched interviews over the last couple of years, that it's always about when the time's right. I've got an idea for a story, but I definitely wouldn't. He's like, if the Raid 2 was so different to the Raid 1, then I'd want the Raid 3 to not, once again go bigger or go home kind of thing. So
I would want it not to be the same sort of film, but not another Raid film, or at least not have the same main actor, because especially the way it ends, how he goes, like, I'm done. Like,
no, I think that sets it up perfectly for a third film.
Yeah, I don't.
No, he said, so what Gareth has said in interviews is that he said the first Raid 2 starts half an hour after the Raid 1, the Raid 3 would start 3 hours before the Raid 2 ends, which makes me think it would be a different character. Like, it would have to be, I don't know who or why or what direction you go with that, but whatever story piece he's had in his mind for all these years is 3 hours before the ending of Raid 2, we pick up with a certain character and we go in a different direction, I guess.
Interesting.
He hasn't made a movie since he's made a short film and worked on like VHS stuff after this. He has a movie coming out this year that I'm super excited for.
On
I haven't dropped
Netflix.
a trailer for it yet. Yes, it's not a action movie though. It's like a thriller. So
yeah,
I'm still excited.
And he's being touted as the director of Deathstroke.
Yeah, that's the only way I get excited for that movie. The only way, because at least then I can go, the action will be good.
Yeah,
but the story might be shit unless they let him write the screenplay as well. So.
Why wouldn't you?
DC.
He's in early talks to write and direct. So
give the man a job.
Waste talent.
Give the man a job.
All right. Well, I think that brings us to the end of this discussion.
I love the Raid.
Dylan, if you want to hear other people who love the Raid, where can they find you?
On Twitter, Viva La Dil, VIVALADIL.
And Nick, if people want to find your mini review for the Raid 2, where can they find it?
Karobican Jail.
Also at Lord and Pryor, where you can find him, and also Dylan at Viva La Dil on Trakt, TRAKT.TV, where you can find me as well at Ashley Hobley, and also on Twitter at Ashley Hobley, SHLEY, HOBLEY. You can also follow the Explosion Network on Twitter at Explosion Pod. You can check out all our Twitch stuff, including our review discussion that we're doing of the Avengers at twitch.tv/Explosion Network, or 24 hours later at youtube.com/Explosion Network. Or just go to explosionnetwork.com, find this show, find all our other podcasts, all Dylan's reviews, all our other articles and whatnot. I don't know. Is a thing. If you've got any suggestions of what you want to hear, what we should watch, what we should do, what other shows we should do, should me and Kieran do a Bevan World spin-off in which we watch the first season of Westworld?
Yes.
Maybe. Send us your emails at mail@explosionnetwork.com, and of course, always, go to iTunes. Set up an Apple account, please. Leave a review, preferably 5 stars. It all helps. We're a small movie podcast in a very small pool, but this will help us get to the top much quicker. Thank you all for listening, and until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.
Ad read, April 2018, take 5. Hey listener, if you're not listening to the Tales of Theldon yet, you should be. It's a D&D audio drama, more easily described as D&D light. The focus is telling a fun story and cutting out too much of the fiddly D&D details that could confuse or bore the uninformed. It features Kieran, Dylan, Ash and Tom, and you'll be in for some laughs and good adventure. Give the first episode a listen today and see if it's for you. Explosion Network Bulletin Board. Pleasure Explosion is now Thursdays at 12 PM Australian Eastern Standard Time. Thank God daylight's over. With Tom hosting the free-flowing conversation, and make sure you check out if you found the old format too much. Reacts and review discussions officially lift off on Twitch, so make sure you follow our Twitter at ExplosionPod and twitch.tv/ExplosionNetwork to keep up when they are live. You'll also find them at bit.ly/ExplosionNetwork on our YouTube 24 hours later.